There ain't nothing gonna bring your boy back.
Analysis of the final fight scene in The Revenant, 2015, by Alejandro González Iñárritu. The climactic confrontation in The Revenant pits the protagonist, Hugh Glass, against his antagonist, John Fitzgerald, in a bloody snowbound brawl along a frozen river. This scene encapsulates Glass's vengeful pursuit after Fitzgerald murders his son and abandons him for dead, drawing on raw survival instincts amid the unforgiving American frontier of the 1820s. The fight is not merely physical but a culmination of thematic layers, blending brutality with moments of near-spiritual surrender. The scene embodies the primal clash between trauma-driven revenge and the erosion of the self under extreme duress. Glass's pursuit of Fitzgerald is rooted in profound grief and post-traumatic rage, manifesting as a dissociative survival mode where pain becomes fuel rather than deterrent. As the fight unfolds, with stabbings, shootings, and grapples, Glass's actions reflect a regression to primal impulses, stripping away civilized inhibitions in favor of animalistic ferocity. This aligns with Freudian notions of the death drive, thanatos, where Glass's near-death experiences earlier in the film have transformed him, leaving him in a liminal state between life and vengeance. Fitzgerald, conversely, represents a narcissistic survivalism. His taunts, "You came all this way just for your revenge," exposing a projective defense mechanism, displacing his own guilt onto Glass. The psychological depth lies in the scene's portrayal of mutual dehumanization. Both men, bloodied and gasping, mirror each other's broken psyches, suggesting that revenge perpetuates a cycle of internal fragmentation rather than resolution. This dynamic underscores how trauma not only motivates but corrodes identity, leaving survivors as revenants, ghosts of their former selves, haunted by unresolved wounds. The fight illustrates operant conditioning gone awry, Glass's repeated brushes with death reinforce a learned helplessness inverted into hypervigilance, while Fitzgerald's betrayal stems from a sociopathic cost-benefit calculus, prioritizing self-preservation over empathy. The scene's slow, labored pacing amplifies the psychological toll, forcing viewers to confront the mental attrition of prolonged conflict, where victory feels pyrrhic and the mind's resilience frays into madness. Set against the backdrop of fur-trapping expeditions, the fight symbolizes the clash between individualistic survivalism and communal bonds, drawing on historical accounts of mountain men whose lives blurred the lines between hunter and hunted. Glass's invocation of his Pawnee heritage through his deceased wife and son positions the duel as a cross-cultural vendetta, where revenge serves as a mechanism for restoring social equilibrium disrupted by Fitzgerald's greed-driven betrayal. This mirrors theories of reciprocal altruism and blood feuds, as seen in tribal societies where personal honor dictates communal stability. Fitzgerald's act of filicide disrupts the kinship structure, compelling Glass to enact a restorative violence that reaffirms paternal and tribal identities. The natural environment, raging river, biting cold, acts as an impartial arbiter, reducing humans to mere elements in an ecological drama. Violence seems not aberrant but interwoven with cycles of life and death. This lens reveals the fight as a microcosm of colonial encounters, where Fitzgerald embodies extractive capitalism, killing for pelts and profit, while Glass's survival ethic hints at a syncretic adaptation, blending European grit with indigenous resilience. The fight's choreography, incorporating hatchets, knives, and environmental improvisation, reflects authentic combat practices documented in accounts of intertribal warfare, where battles were personal, opportunistic, and tied to spiritual beliefs in omens and ancestors. Glass, a white trapper with indigenous ties, enacts a revenge that blends Euro-American individualism with Pawnee mourning rituals. The scene critiques the romanticization of the savage frontier, using verite-style filming to capture the tactile pain, mud, blood, and breath as everyday elements of existence. Fitzgeralds represent the underclass of American expansion, marginalized figures whose violence stems from socioeconomic displacement. This perspective highlights how the fight ethnographically documents the erasure of indigenous voices. The rivers flow, indifferent to human strife. The scene interrogates existential themes of will, justice, and the absurd, drawing on ideas of the will to power and notion of rebellion against meaninglessness. Glass's refusal to die embodies a kind of transcendence of suffering, where revenge becomes an affirmation of existence amid chaos. Yet the fight's futility questions whether such will leads to freedom or greater enslavement and common global catastrophe for everybody. Also, Fitzgerald's pragmatic fatalism, God is a squirrel, you eat it, is a complete atheism conjugated with lack of moral and ethical habits, because among all life is nasty, brutish, and short for trappers, and because morality dissolves into survival. Glass spares Fitzgerald's final kill to the Arikara, invoking a stoic detachment suggesting justice as cosmic rather than personal. The duel is a confrontation with authenticity. Glass's wounds force an awareness of finitude, transforming revenge into an opening to greater powers which do not belong to him. This challenges utilitarian ethics. Is violence justifiable if it restores balance, or does it perpetuate the absurd cycle of human strife? The scene grapples with divine absence and redemptive suffering, evoking Judeo-Christian motifs of resurrection and judgment while infusing indigenous spirituality. Glass as Revenant parallels Christ's harrowing of hell or Lazarus's return, his survival a testament to providential grace amid forsakenness. Yet the fight's savagery questions God's role in human evil. The river's baptismal imagery, submersion and emergence, suggests a purgatorial cleansing, where violence purges sin, but Glass's surrender of vengeance hints at a theological turn toward mercy, echoing the Sermon on the Mount's call to turn the other cheek. The scene introduces violence as a fallen state, unnatural diversion from creation's purpose, yet offers glimmers of redemption through surrender to a higher order. There is a link with Shakespeare and especially the very famous Macbeth masterpiece. Shakespeare's Macbeth culminates in a sword duel between Macbeth and Macduff, where Macduff, avenging his family's slaughter, beheads the tyrant, fulfilling prophecies and restoring order. While both scenes revolve around revenge and fatal confrontations, their depths reveal contrasting explorations of human agency, morality, and cosmic order, yet converge in critiquing ambition's corrosive effects. Both depict revenge as a trauma response, but the Revenant's raw, instinctual brawl contrasts Macbeth's verbal prelude, and where Macbeth's soliloquies expose a dark and gloomy psyche torn by guilt and nihilism, tomorrow and tomorrow. This is spoken by Macbeth right after he learns of Lady Macbeth's death. She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day, to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools, the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player, that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale, told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. This is one of the most powerful and nihilistic passages in all of Shakespeare. At this point in the play, Macbeth has lost everything: his wife, his hope, his humanity, and he stares into the void. The relentless repetition of tomorrow conveys exhaustion and futility, while the famous final line brutally dismisses all human struggle as ultimately meaningless. Glass's hallucinatory drive stems from paternal loss, fostering resilience. Macbeth's, from regicidal ambition, breeds despair and isolation, highlighting how trauma can empower or erode the self. Macbeth's fatalism, I will not yield, reflects a depressive resignation, while Glass's survival ethic suggests adaptive post-traumatic growth, underscoring Shakespeare's focus on internal moral decay versus the Revenant's endurance. Macbeth's duel ritualizes feudal honor codes, where combat restores hierarchical balance in a clan-based society, akin to the Revenant's frontier vendettas but with a cosmic dimension. In Macbeth, Birnam Wood's advance symbolizes nature's rebellion against tyranny, paralleling the river's indifference in The Revenant. The Revenant probes colonial individualism's clash with communal indigenous structures, revealing violence as a cultural universal adapted to context. Macbeth draws from Scottish folklore and Jacobean politics, with the duel embodying clan feuds and prophetic fatalism, contrasting the Revenant's ethnographic fidelity to Native American and trapper lifeways. Both document marginalized voices, Macduff as the avenger of the dispossessed, Glass as the hybrid frontiersman. Yet Shakespeare's verbal formalism elevates rhetoric over physicality, unlike the Revenant's sensory immersion. Both question fate versus free will. Macbeth's reliance on equivocal prophecies is clear. In the final battle, Act 5, Scene 8, Macduff confronts Macbeth. When Macbeth taunts him with the witch's prophecy, he will never be defeated by someone born from a woman. Macduff reveals the fatal loophole. Macduff was born by cesarean section, surgically removed from his mother's womb, not delivered through natural childbirth. In the language and worldview of Shakespeare's time, this technicality means he was not born of woman in the usual sense. He was ripped or cut out. So the witch's words are technically true, but deliberately deceptive and equivocal, double meaning. This is classic Shakespearean wordplay. The prophecy gives Macbeth false security while still allowing his downfall. It's one of the play's greatest examples of how the witches use half-truths and riddles to manipulate and destroy him. The play exposes Macbeth's illusion of control, mirroring Glass's existential push against fatality. The Revenant seems sometimes to affirm will's triumph through suffering, while Shakespeare condemns it as hubris. Absolutely. Shakespeare's stoic undertones, accepting downfall, contrast the Revenant overcoming, probing whether justice is retributive or redemptive. Macbeth frames the duel as divine retribution for sin, with Macduff as God's instrument against a Faustian usurper, echoing the Revenant's purgatorial motifs but with clearer providential order. Nature convulses at Macbeth's crimes, unlike the neutral wilderness in the Hollywood movie. Shakespeare introduced ambition as original sin, and Shakespeare emphasizes also justice's restoration, while the survivalist movie of Hollywood leaves redemption ambiguous, blending Christian resurrection with animistic cycles and place evil in greed, fear, and original trauma. In essence, the Revenant's fight visceralizes personal survival in an indifferent universe, while Macbeth's intellectualizes moral downfall in a providential one, yet both consider our understanding of revenge as a double-edged sword, restorative yet self-destructive, illuminating humanity's wrestle with its darker impulses.